Reno, Nevada, February 14th, 2012, 4:36 a.m. In the pre-dawn darkness of Valentine's Day, security cameras at the Silver Lantern Casino capture what appears to be routine maintenance. A casino porter pushes a heavy trash cart through the service corridor, moving with the unhurried pace of someone completing another mundane shift in the gambling capital's endless cycle of cleanup and preparation. The cart looks unremarkable, black garbage bags bulging with the detritus of another night of excess. Empty champagne bottles catch the fluorescent light. Crumpled napkins and discarded cocktail glasses create the familiar landscape of casino waste. To any observer, this is simply another invisible worker performing the unglamorous labor that keeps the glittering facade operational. But hidden beneath those bags of refuse lies $22 million in cash, one of the largest single thefts in Nevada gaming history. Minutes later, the porter wheels his cart past the loading dock and onto a waiting garbage truck. The vehicle pulls away into the desert night, carrying away not just the casino's trash, but a fortune that would never be recovered. Casinos track every chip, monitor every bet, and scrutinize every card dealt at their tables. They employ armies of security personnel, install millions of dollars in surveillance equipment, and maintain sophisticated systems designed to catch cheaters, counters, and thieves. But they never counted on the man who emptied their ashtrays. Before we rewind to discover how a simple porter outsmarted one of the most secure environments in America, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you're already hooked by this incredible story. And in the comments below, tell me where you're watching from. I love hearing from viewers around the world. Marcus Hill wasn't supposed to matter. At 42, he'd spent nearly a decade as human furniture in the Silver Lantern Casino, one of dozens of porters whose job was to maintain the illusion of effortless luxury that gambling establishments depend upon. His uniform was designed for invisibility, simple gray coveralls that marked him as service staff, instantly categorizing him as background scenery in the minds of dealers, pit bosses, and the high rollers who generated the casino's profits. Marcus pushed carts through corridors, emptied overflowing ashtrays, and hauled bags of refuse with the mechanical efficiency expected of minimum wage labor. The Silver Lantern was a mid-tier casino, lacking the prestige of Las Vegas mega-resorts, but maintaining the essential infrastructure of serious gambling. Located on the outskirts of Reno, it attracted a steady stream of locals, tourists, and serious gamblers drawn by competitive odds and fewer crowds than the major strip establishments. For Marcus, the job represented survival rather than career advancement. Divorced 3 years earlier, he struggled with child support payments that consumed most of his modest income. His ex-wife lived in California with her 2 children, whom Marcus saw infrequently due to both financial constraints and the shame of his reduced circumstances. Home was a weekly rate motel on the wrong side of Reno, a collection of aging rooms that housed casino workers, construction laborers, and others living paycheck to paycheck in Nevada's service economy. The Desert Inn Motel was a far cry from the luxury accommodations his workplace provided for visiting gamblers, but it was what Marcus could afford on a porter's wages. What separated Marcus from his co-workers wasn't ambition or education, it was observation. Nearly 10 years of invisible labor had taught him to see patterns that others missed. He understood the rhythms of casino operations with the precision of someone whose survival depended on staying out of the way while remaining productive. Marcus knew which security guards were thorough and which were lazy. He recognized the difference between routine surveillance and active investigation. Most importantly, he understood that his invisibility was both a burden and a potential asset. Casino security focused obsessively on the gaming floor, where cheaters and advantage players posed constant threats to profitability. Dealers were monitored continuously, their every movement recorded and analyzed. Players were watched for signs of card counting, collusion, or other attempts to gain unfair advantage. But porters were furniture. They moved through restricted areas without scrutiny, carried keys that opened service doors throughout the facility, and had access to areas where even regular casino employees weren't permitted. Security cameras recorded their movements, but nobody watched the footage unless specific incidents required investigation. This access gave Marcus an education in casino operations that few employees possessed. His roots took him through counting rooms, vault areas, and administrative offices where the real business of gambling occurred away from the public spectacle of the gaming floor. Marcus's criminal awakening began with curiosity rather than intent. His cleaning duties required accessing every area of the casino, including secure zones where cash was processed, counted, and prepared for deposit or distribution. The Silver Lantern's cash handling procedures followed industry standards designed to prevent theft and ensure accurate accounting. Money from gaming tables was collected in sealed bags and transported to counting rooms by armed security personnel. Vault areas were protected by multiple layers of electronic and physical security. But Marcus discovered that perfect systems were implemented by imperfect humans working under pressure in a 24-hour operation that never paused for careful procedures. During peak periods, major holidays, championship sporting events, or celebrity appearances, the volume of cash exceeded the capacity of standard security protocols. Bags of currency would accumulate in staging areas, waiting for available counting staff or armored car pickup times that didn't always align with collection schedules. These staging areas were secured, but they were also functional workspaces where efficiency sometimes took priority over perfect security. Marcus observed bags of cash sitting unattended for hours, protected only by locked doors, and the assumption that service staff could be trusted with proximity to such wealth. More importantly, Marcus realized that these cash bags looked remarkably similar to the heavy garbage bags he handled daily. Both were black plastic, sealed at the top, and heavy enough to require careful handling. In low lighting or from a distance, the difference was nearly impossible to detect. The insight that would eventually cost the Silver Lantern $22 million came to Marcus during a routine shift in December 2011. He was emptying trash in a service corridor when he noticed several cash bags waiting for pickup near the loading dock. The bags were unguarded, sitting next to legitimate refuse that Marcus was supposed to collect and remove. For several minutes, Marcus stood in that corridor, holding both types of bags, understanding for the first time that casino security had a fatal blind spot. Money was watched obsessively while it moved through official channels, but trash was invisible, something to be removed quickly and efficiently without attracting attention. Marcus spent the following weeks conducting careful experiments designed to test the limits of casino security without attracting suspicion. He began hiding small personal items in his trash carts, documenting whether security personnel ever inspected the contents during his routes through the facility. The results were revealing. Guards routinely waved Marcus through security checkpoints without examination. His cart was considered part of the facility's operational background, no more suspicious than the cleaning supplies or maintenance equipment that moved constantly through the casino's service areas. Marcus also timed security rotations, mapping the patterns of guard changes and identifying periods when surveillance was lightest. He documented which exits were monitored most carefully and which service areas had the least oversight. Most crucially, Marcus identified the garbage truck schedule and the procedures for waste removal. The Silver Lantern contracted with a local waste management company that sent trucks to collect refuse during early morning hours when casino traffic was minimal. These trucks had special access to loading dock areas that were otherwise restricted. They arrived on predictable schedules, loaded quickly, and departed without significant security scrutiny. The waste management workers were familiar faces who'd been servicing the casino for years, creating a routine that security guards rarely questioned. Marcus realized that this waste removal process represented a potential escape route that bypassed most of the casino's security infrastructure. Money hidden in garbage could leave the premises without triggering any of the systems designed to prevent cash theft. But executing such a plan would require more than opportunity. It would need precise timing, careful preparation, and most dangerously, the cooperation of at least one accomplice. Marcus understood that stealing $22 million was beyond his capabilities as a lone operator. The logistics of moving that much cash, even over a short distance, required assistance from someone with access to transportation and storage facilities. The accomplice he needed was already part of his daily routine. Jerry Sandoval drove one of the garbage trucks that serviced the Silver Lantern, a veteran waste management employee who'd been making pickups at the casino for over 5 years. Jerry was facing his own financial pressures. Child support obligations from 2 failed marriages consumed most of his income, and a gambling addiction had left him with debts to several local bookmakers. When Marcus approached him with a proposal that could solve both their problems, Jerry was receptive to conversation. The plan Marcus outlined was elegant in its simplicity. During a predetermined pickup, Marcus would load cash bags into his regular trash cart along with legitimate refuse. Jerry would collect the cart as usual, but instead of proceeding directly to the landfill, he would make a detour to transfer the cash bags to Marcus's personal vehicle. For Jerry, the risk seemed minimal. He would be performing his normal duties with only a slight deviation en route. If questioned, he could claim mechanical problems or confusion about pickup schedules, explanations that would be difficult to disprove and unlikely to trigger serious investigation. Marcus offered Jerry a partnership rather than a simple bribe, 25% of whatever they successfully stole, with the understanding that the theft would be a one-time operation followed by immediate disappearance from Nevada. But the plan required more than Jerry's cooperation. Marcus needed resources he didn't possess: a vehicle capable of transporting large amounts of cash, secure storage for the money until it could be converted to usable assets, and most challengingly, a strategy for disappearing completely after the theft. Marcus began methodical preparation for a new life. He rented a storage unit in Carson City under a false identity, created with documents purchased from a forger who specialized in serving casino workers and others who needed to disappear from legal obligations. A pickup truck purchased with cash from a private seller gave Marcus transportation that couldn't be traced through his official identity. The vehicle was registered under the same false name he'd used for the storage unit, creating a paper trail that led away from his real identity. Most importantly, Marcus studied the casino's Valentine's Day weekend schedule, identifying the optimal window when maximum cash would be available with minimum security oversight. February 14, 2012 promised to be exceptionally profitable for the Silver Lantern Casino. Valentine's Day weekend attracted couples celebrating with expensive dinners and gambling, while the holiday's proximity to President's Day created a 3-day period of sustained high roller activity. Marcus had scheduled himself for the overnight shift that ended Tuesday morning, ensuring he would be present during the critical hours when weekend cash accumulations would be staged for collection and deposit. The evening began with the controlled chaos typical of major holiday weekends. Every gaming table was occupied, slot machines hummed with constant activity, and the casino's restaurants and bars operated at capacity. Cash registers throughout the facility overflowed with currency from customers who treated $100 bills as casual spending money. By midnight, the volume of cash circulation had exceeded the Silver Lantern's normal processing capacity. Bags of currency began accumulating in staging areas, waiting for morning counting sessions when additional staff would be available to handle the overflow. Marcus worked his regular shift with professional normalcy, emptying ashtrays and clearing refuse, while mentally cataloging the growing fortune accumulating in the areas he was authorized to access. Each bag represented tens or hundreds of thousands in cash, the product of thousands of individual gambling transactions compressed into portable packages. At 3:47 a.m., Marcus received the text message he'd been waiting for. "Ready when you are." Jerry's garbage truck was approaching the loading dock for the scheduled pickup that would change both their lives forever. The security footage that investigators would later scrutinize frame by frame shows Marcus Hill beginning the most audacious theft in Nevada gaming history at exactly 4:19 a.m. on February 14, 2012. Marcus approaches a service corridor where 7 bags of cash await morning collection, their black plastic surfaces indistinguishable from the legitimate garbage bags stacked nearby. Working with practiced efficiency, he loads the cash bags into his cart, layering them beneath authentic refuse to create the appearance of routine waste collection. The weight is substantial. $22 million in mixed denominations creates a load heavy enough to require careful maneuvering, but Marcus has pushed similar carts thousands of times, and his movements remain smooth and professional. At 4:27 a.m., Marcus begins wheeling the cart toward the loading dock, following the same route he's traveled countless times during nearly a decade of employment. Security cameras capture every step of his journey, but to any observer, this appears to be nothing more than routine janitorial service. The loading dock area buzzes with the controlled activity of early morning operations. Delivery trucks wait to unload fresh supplies for the coming day's business. Maintenance workers prepare equipment for scheduled repairs. The environment provides perfect camouflage for what Marcus is about to attempt. Jerry Sandoval's garbage truck sits in its designated position, engine running as Jerry completes the paperwork required for each pickup. The truck's mechanical sounds mask the slight grunting noise Marcus makes as he lifts the unusually heavy bags from his cart into the truck's loading compartment. At 4:36 a.m., the transfer is complete. Jerry signals his readiness with a slight nod, then activates the truck's hydraulic system to compress the load. The machinery's noise covers any sound the cash bags might make as they settle among legitimate refuse. Security guards monitoring the loading dock see exactly what they expect to see: routine waste removal by familiar personnel following established procedures. Nothing in the scene suggests criminal activity or requires additional scrutiny. Jerry's truck pulls away from the Silver Lantern at 4:44 a.m., carrying not only the casino's trash but the largest cash theft in the facility's history. The vehicle's departure triggers no alarms, raises no suspicions, and leaves no evidence beyond routine paperwork documenting another successful refuse collection. At 5:01 a.m., 17 minutes after leaving the casino, Jerry's truck reaches a predetermined rendezvous point at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Reno. Marcus waits with his pickup truck, engine running and tailgate lowered for rapid loading. The transfer takes less than 3 minutes. 7 bags containing $22 million move from the garbage truck to Marcus's personal vehicle, completing the most successful casino theft in Nevada history. Jerry drives away to complete his official route, disposing of legitimate refuse at the landfill, while maintaining the schedule that will establish his alibi. Marcus heads into the desert darkness, carrying a fortune that will never be recovered. The Silver Lantern's morning audit began routinely at 6:30 a.m., following procedures designed to account for every dollar that had entered and exited the casino during the previous 24 hours. Financial control staff arrived to find the usual aftermath of a profitable holiday weekend: overflowing cash drawers, busy slot machine hoppers, and the general evidence of successful gaming operations. But the routine audit quickly revealed a devastating discrepancy. 7 bags of cash that should have been waiting for morning counting had vanished completely, leaving no trace beyond empty spaces in the staging area where $22 million should have been secured. Initial confusion gave way to growing panic as supervisors realized the scope of the theft. This wasn't a case of misplaced paperwork or accounting errors. A fortune in cash had simply disappeared overnight from what was supposed to be one of the most secure environments in Nevada. Casino executives faced a nightmare that extended beyond financial loss. The Nevada Gaming Commission required immediate notification of any incident that might compromise the integrity of licensed gaming operations. Failure to report the theft promptly could result in suspension of the casino's operating license, effectively shutting down the business. But reporting the theft would also trigger massive media attention and regulatory scrutiny that could damage the Silver Lantern's reputation permanently. Casinos depend on public confidence that money is safe and games are fair. News of a $22 million theft would shatter that confidence among the high rollers who generated the casino's most profitable revenue. Emergency meetings convened throughout the morning as executives struggled to balance legal obligations with business survival. Security directors reviewed footage from dozens of cameras, looking for any evidence of how the cash had disappeared. Internal auditors checked and rechecked accounting records, hoping to find the missing money misclassified rather than stolen. The investigation's early hours focused on the most obvious suspects: security guards, vault personnel, and others with direct access to cash handling areas. The possibility that a minimum wage porter could orchestrate such a theft seemed beyond consideration. But as investigators methodically eliminated internal suspects, attention gradually turned to the less obvious possibilities. Review of security footage revealed Marcus Hill's late-night movements, but nothing in his behavior appeared suspicious to observers who didn't know what they were looking for. By the time investigators identified Marcus Hill as a potential suspect, he had been missing for over 18 hours. His motel room was found empty, with rent paid through the end of the month, but no personal belongings remaining. Marcus's disappearance followed a pattern that suggested careful advanced planning rather than panicked flight. He had given no indication to co-workers or acquaintances that he was contemplating leaving Reno. His ex-wife in California reported no unusual contact attempts. His few friends and relatives had received no farewell messages or requests for assistance. The pickup truck Marcus had purchased weeks earlier was found abandoned in a casino parking lot in Las Vegas, over 400 miles from Reno. The vehicle contained no forensic evidence linking it to the theft, and its location suggested Marcus might have continued his escape by other means. Financial records revealed that Marcus had closed his bank accounts and canceled his few credit cards in the days before the theft, converting his modest legitimate assets to cash. But there was no evidence of unusual spending or advance payments that might indicate preparation for disappearance. Most puzzling was the complete absence of the stolen money from any detectable financial system. $22 million in cash should create some trace as it enters legitimate banking or investment channels. But investigators found no evidence of large deposits, money transfers, or asset purchases that could represent laundered theft. And Reykjavik's proceeds. Jerry Sandoval's disappearance, discovered 3 days after Marcus went missing, confirmed that the theft had involved collaboration. Jerry's garbage truck was found abandoned near the California border, but there was no sign of the driver or evidence linking him directly to the missing cash. The simultaneous disappearance of both men suggested either careful coordination of their escapes or the possibility that they had been eliminated by other parties who wanted to control the stolen money. Perhaps the most intriguing theory suggested that Marcus Hill had orchestrated a more sophisticated operation than investigators initially recognized, successfully using his invisibility as a service worker to plan and execute a nearly perfect crime. This scenario required acknowledging that Marcus possessed criminal capabilities that his background didn't suggest, creating convincing false identities, establishing secure storage for massive amounts of cash, and maintaining perfect operational security would require skills that a casino porter shouldn't have possessed. But Marcus had spent nearly a decade observing one of the most security-conscious industries in America. He understood surveillance systems, recognized patterns in human behavior, and had learned to move through restricted environments without attracting attention. These skills could translate effectively to planning and executing sophisticated criminal operations. The casino environment had also provided Marcus with extensive knowledge of financial systems and cash handling procedures. He understood how money moved through legitimate channels, where security was most intensive, and how to exploit the gaps between official procedures and actual practice. Most importantly, Marcus had the perfect cover for his criminal planning. Service workers are expected to be invisible, and their access to restricted areas is considered routine rather than suspicious. This invisibility could have allowed Marcus to conduct months of reconnaissance and preparation without triggering any security concerns.